Welcome to this week's episode of the Lido Loop. I'm your host, Jack McCraw. With me, as always, my good friend, Jesse Barboza. How we doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. So tell us, Jesse, what's on the show today?
Yeah, so it looks like America is going to be getting 2 new ports. And there's something that is very illegal now in Mexico. And it looks like Royal Caribbean will be getting their next ship out here soon.
That and Disney has announced the closure of a fan-favorite attraction. So has Universal, but Universal has also said something new is coming to their parks. And maybe, just maybe, a brand new Nintendo-themed property is coming to Islands of Adventure. And we are going to take an insider look and talk about Jesse's upcoming MSC cruise, and also talk about when is the best time to go on a cruise vacation. That and much more on this week's episode of The Lido Loop. Before we get into Jesse's review of his upcoming MSC cruise, we like to start every show off with the cruise news of the week. So Jesse, what's the latest and greatest in the cruise world? And I'm hearing we might get not 1, but 2 cruise ports coming to America soon.
So a land developer in Manatee County is trying to develop 300 acres to make a new cruise port that can hold a lot bigger ships, which is this new proposed location is going to be south of the Skyway Bridge. The current cruise port cannot hold any mega ships, and everyone knows that the new cruise ships is always going to be bigger and better. So Tampa is always going to be trying to compete with Miami and all the other cruise ports like Port Canaveral, because those can hold as big as a ship can get. Jack, you've seen those videos, huh? Like the ship, it seems like it about to hit the bridge.
Yes, and it narrowly misses and goes under. I think you are completely right what you're saying, because that bridge is so impassable. It connects Manatee County with Pinellas County. So if you live in Sarasota, that's your only real way to get to St. Petersburg without driving all the way around the bay. Now, granted, the area they're building is away from the main city center of Tampa, but I think those cruisers will definitely travel more, so that way they can go on a bigger ship like an Icon of the Seas out of Tampa instead of settling for a smaller Margaritaville, Carnival, or any other cruise line.
So do you think, Jack, that it'd be better to just build a new bridge or just work on that current bridge and make it bigger?
I mean, you would have to shut down that bridge, and it's a major interstate. So I would say the likeliness of that happening is slim to none. It would take years for them just to build a bridge right next to it and then demolish the other bridge. So I think the better alternative is actually building that cruise port on the outskirts of Tampa and Manatee County, like we mentioned earlier, instead of having to spend tons of money to build a newer, bigger bridge to accommodate these bigger ships. And also, that is one of the major highways in Florida. There's no way they could shut that down. The traffic would be miserable, kind of like it is in LA. And speaking of which, I heard LA is the other city that might be getting that new cruise port.
They are actually getting a cruise port. They're expected to get a mega port. They are really trying to get these mega ships. They're trying to be the next and greatest thing. I looked at the plans of it. Man, it looks beautiful, the new cruise port.
So correct me if I'm wrong, they already have Long Beach as the sort of main cruise port. Would this be somewhere similar or like in a different location in LA?
Yeah, it's not too much farther away from it, but this one is just made to hold bigger ships. That's pretty much it.
Hey, so you can go on an Icon of the Seas now out of Tampa and out of LA too. So these cruise ships are just continuously getting bigger and bigger. And I like that these cruise ports are becoming more accommodating of these massive ships. And speaking of which, Jesse, I heard that Royal Caribbean has announced their 5th addition to their Icon class. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So everyone knows that the Icon class is the largest cruise ship there is. So why not make it bigger? With the currently have 3 that are currently out right now, and the 4th one is now in the works as we speak, which is still unnamed. They have now announced the 5th one. The Meyer Turk is actually going to be building it, which this ship is going to be over 250 50,000 gross tons, and it's going to have 6 water slides, more than 20 bars and lounges. Of course, they're going to have their iconic Central Park with over 30,000 real plants and restaurants. I don't know how they put real plants on a ship like that. It seemed like it would be a lot of upkeep.
I'm sure that the rain hits it naturally and they can find a way to water those plants. 6 slides seems like a whole lot of fun, but somehow 20 bars doesn't seem enough. I just hope the casino is big enough for, everyone on that massive ship. But speaking of which, do you think this will be the last icon built, or do you think you could see more down the line?
So Royal Caribbean does have a 6th and 7th option with Meyer Turk to build 2 more icon class ships.
I mean, I'm sorry. It's almost like you can see these things a mile away. They're just so massive. I've always wanted to go on a Icon of the Seas ship, and Royal Caribbean just does it so well from the videos I've seen.
Well, you will be able to next year, because in Galveston in 2027, Icon will be coming to Galveston.
All right. Well, hey, especially when they go to places like Mexico, which I'm hearing has a new rule that could get you in a lot of trouble if you do break it.
Yeah, so everyone that gets off in Cozumel, once you get out of the port, everyone knows that, they start selling you. They want to try to sell you drugs and prostitution and stuff like that. But now they might be trying to sell you vapes, because that's illegal as well.
I mean, I have gotten off the cruise port in Cozumel off Carnival, and as soon as you kind of leave the port, you're left with guys selling you handbags. You're left with guys like bringing you over. Hey, my friend, come over here. Let me sell you something. It gets a little crazy in Mexico. So now vapes are being banned. So now they're going to sell vapes on the side of the streets.
So technically you can still smoke it. There's not a law that says you can't use it, but it is illegal to import and sell it.
So if you buy a vape, you technically are buying drugs in Mexico now.
Yeah, I mean, they just want you to be able to buy the cocaine with the vapes.
You got to spread the wealth as much as you can. So yeah, kids, don't be bringing your vapes to Mexico anymore or buying them, because you can get in a whole lot of trouble.
Speaking of trouble in theme park news, I heard that Disney may be closing some rides.
Yes, so they have announced some closing dates for the beloved Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Now, this ride did open back in 1999, so it's been around the park for a while, and hey, they still play some rock and Aerosmith music to this day, but they did announce at their D23 a couple years ago that it's going to be rethemed to the Muppets. Now, just for fun, Jesse, shouldn't they have chosen a better band than the Muppets?
Yeah, I think nowadays, I feel like the Muppets is like very old school.
I think Disney just owns the rights to the Muppets, so they don't have to pay a licensing fee like they're doing with Aerosmith. I mean, you and I would love a Nickelback or Creed theme roller coaster, or even if they could change the music and just play whatever they want. It's kind of like what Rip Ride Rocket was, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But yes, it's going to be rethemed to the Muppets, and the last day you can ride Rock and Roller Coaster as is March 1st of this year. So if you're in Florida, go get that one last ride on Aerosmith as they count down to 3, 2, 1. One last time. Another ride that's closing permanently is Dinosaur at Animal Kingdom. Now, this one is a fun dinosaur-themed ride, but it's being torn down and being replaced with an Indiana Jones ride. The last day to do that is February 2nd, so if you're listening to this, it might already be too late, but hey, just in case, go ride Dinosaur one last time before they go extinct.
So, Jack, I heard that there's other rides closing at Universal as well.
Yes, so in addition to the rides closing at Disney, Universal has announced that they are going to close the Fast and Furious Supercharged ride, which is, you and I have ridden that King Kong ride in Islands of Adventure. It's essentially the same ride, but it's themed to Fast and Furious. But unlike King Kong, it's not nearly as good as King Kong. So this is kind of not a lot of people are going to miss this ride.
So in its place, what is going to be there and when will it open?
So just announced Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift a new roller coaster. It's going to be replacing both Rip Ride Rocket and the Universal Supercharged attraction. So 2 attractions are going down, but Universal is getting a brand new state-of-the-art roller coaster in this place themed to Fast and Furious, and it's going to be similar to the one they're building in Hollywood, Universal Hollywood right now. It's probably not going to be a clone because the layout is different, but I think it's very befitting to have Fast and Furious as a roller coaster now. As for an opening and closure date, the closure date for Fast and Furious Supercharged, the dark ride, will be closed in 2027, and that's around the same time as the anticipation of the new Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift roller coaster to be open. So mark your calendars for 2027. And speaking of new Universal attractions, Jesse, if you were to think of one Nintendo property to add to Universal, what do you think that would be?
I mean, it's got to be Pokemon.
You're right, because according to reports, Universal Studios Japan said Thursday that it had inked a new and expanded deal with the Pokemon Company to offer more innovative, immersive, and world-class Pokemon experiences. Details were not specific at this time, but that just opens the door because years ago, Universal did this exact same thing with Nintendo to bring their properties like Mario and Donkey Kong to the parks, and that's been a smash hit. If we were to talk about one other Nintendo property, Pokemon has to be second behind Mario. And Jesse, can you imagine some of the stuff they could do with Pokemon?
Absolutely. As being a 90s baby, Pokemon in the early 2000s were us. I remember having all the Pokemon cards and all that. And I'm not going to lie, I thought that fad would have gone away, but it just keeps getting bigger every year, it seems like.
I mean, have you seen Pokemon collectors nowadays?
Yeah, you can't even buy a Pokemon card without collectors waiting in line to buy them as soon as they hit the shelf.
Pokemon is massive. And this is just a rumor right here, but the Lost Continent in Islands of Adventure seems to be the prime spot to put a brand new Pokemon experience right in between Seuss Landing and the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Could be Pokemon, and they are already going to demolish Poseidon's Fury and the Sinbad Theater sometime this year. So the groundwork could be laid for a new Pokemon experience. My opinion, I would kind of want something interactive like the Wizarding World of Harry Potter has with wands, but maybe Pokeballs, you can catch Pokemon, and then maybe some sort of 3D ride where you're using your augmented glasses and you can see Pokemon.
So do you think this is going to be themed for kids, or is it going to be like very nostalgic for us 90s kids?
Probably both. I know that's kind of sitting on the fence and not really answering the question, but I think Pokemon now has a lot more younger fans, but there are still fans nostalgic for the original 151 Pokemon. So I think that there will be things to do for both kids and adults. And adults are going to go to this Pokemon world anyway. I'm sure you and I will plan a trip to Universal to go see everything Pokemon, but after you and your family go on this upcoming MSC trip, tell me a little bit about your upcoming MSC cruise.
So after Carnival decided not to be loyal with us, we decided to start looking at other cruise lines, and the first one that caught our eye was MSC. Why, you ask? Well, the price for sure, because first off, we booked the Fantastica experience on MSC Seascape, which included a very discounted drink package, Wi-Fi, and insurance, which is like travel insurance, for the low price of $1,700.
That's a steal for a cruise ship. That cost me about the same price to go on that 3-day that we did with the Carnival Glory in Florida, and you're saying you have a whole week on the MSC for $1,700, including drink package and Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so I mean, I've watched many videos of this ship, and it looks beautiful. This ship is actually even bigger than the Jubilee which we were just on back in April.
The Jubilee is a pretty big ship, and if this ship is bigger than that, you are in for one fun time. But to keep it a little bit more timely, we do live in Texas, and there is the big freeze coming. I know you said that you board this upcoming weekend. Are you at all prepared to go down there during the weather? Are you staying in Galveston the night before? How are you preparing to go on this cruise with this upcoming freeze?
Yeah, so probably about Wednesday of this week, which is about 3 or 4 days ago, we decided that looking at the weather that it looked like that it might be bad Saturday night. So we didn't want to risk it, so we decided to book a hotel on the island. Wasn't priced too bad, but we could tell that the hotels were definitely selling out fast.
I imagine a lot of people were doing the same thing, getting on ships. We might as well be in Galveston the night before, so that way you don't have to drive as far. Because there are people that drive all over Texas to go to Galveston for these cruises. And if you're already in Galveston, it's a short drive versus driving from the Houston area where we're from.
Yeah, Royal Caribbean's actually, they are coming in a day sooner so that people, I guess, they can easily travel without affecting weather. But honestly, I think it's kind of late for them, especially if they're traveling outside of Texas, because pretty much tonight is when the weather starts hitting Texas. So if you live anything north of Texas, you're already getting hit bad.
Yeah, I already have a friend in Chicago, and she said it's negative 11 degrees. You know, we're complaining about 32-degree weather down here, but it's different down here. I get it. That kind of segues into a good point of when do you think is the best time to go on a cruise vacation? And I'm asking you this because you've now been on a cruise in summer, fall, and now you're about to go on one in winter. I imagine winter is pretty nice. This, especially right now, you're about to escape the cold all over the U.S. and be, sitting on a beach in Mexico at 80 degrees with a drink in your hand.
Yeah, of course. So, of course, right now you can't travel to Alaska during the winter and all that because everything's frozen up there. But a lot of people don't realize that sometimes when you go to Florida area, you've gone to Florida and you go to the Bahamas, it still might be a little chilly down there during the fall and winter months. But a lot of people don't realize that I think Galveston and same with New Orleans, those ports are kind of hidden gems because during the off season, when it's cold, those are actually good places. Because once you go to Cozumel or Costa Maya, Progreso, Roatan, those places, they're going to be warm regardless whenever you go.
It was around this same time 10 years ago that I went on the Carnival Freedom and we went to Cayman Islands, Jamaica, and Cozumel. We left Galveston bundled up. We were watching football on the deck in jackets. But once we got pretty south into the Gulf of Mexico, it was beautiful and perfect. It was like it wasn't even winter anymore. So definitely going during the wintertime has its perks. I imagine it's a little cheaper in the wintertime than it is the summer because kids are still in school, but it's a perfect escape for the cold weather.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely going to be cheaper. And then if you don't like kids as much, you definitely are not going to see near as many kids on a ship.
Unless you're a Disney cruise, and there are always going to be kids on that one.
But even on Disney, though, to be honest, though, during all season, it's not near as much. To me, honestly, I think I'm in kind of the stage of my life. My kids are 13 and 12, that they're kind of out of the whining and toddler stage. So I think I would not like being on a Disney cruise just because of the amount of screaming kids in the middle of summer.
Yeah, keep them entertained on the Carnival ship. They can go to Club O2, but just keep them out of the casino. But going back to your MSC cruise, where are your port of calls?
So the first stop is going to be Roatan, Honduras, which is pretty south, so we're definitely going to stay warm in that. And then we're going to be going to Costa Maya, and then the last one's going to be Cozumel, Mexico.
Do you ever get tired of going to Cozumel over and over again?
Honestly, no. I mean, if you don't like it, you can stay on the ship. And to be honest, I'm a big ship person, so I really don't care too much about the ports. I'm more about the ship.
You're not a guy to go shopping, go and look for $3 Dallas Cowboys backpacks like I was?
No, I'm definitely one of those that like when you pay for a cruise, you like to not pay that much later.
I hear that the pool is actually bigger than a Carnival ship. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the pool that they have is actually going to be indoors. So even on our first day when it's going to be 30 degrees outside, it's going to stay warm, and there should be kids out there going on the slides and hanging out in the pool area.
What is another thing you're really looking forward to on the ship?
So honestly, I'm a big food person. I love food. I won't call myself a foodie, but I just love to eat. And there's also like mini bars and stuff like that. But the food that I'm really looking forward to is a pizza. There are apparently known as the best pizza at sea. And I love the Carnival, but people say that Carnival's trash compared to MSC pizza.
That is a bold take because as someone who used to not like the Carnival pizza, it's gotten significantly better over the years. And to say that MSC just blows Carnival out of the water, we need to have your son come on in because he's the pizza connoisseur. He needs to do a Carnival pizza review. How is the dining? Did you do late dining or can you do dining at any time?
So you can do anytime dining with a Fantastica experience. You can kind of choose what dining time you have, which we decided to do the early time dining. However, with MSC, they're kind of weird. Like they don't guarantee it until you get on board. So I'm hoping that we actually did get early time dining, and we don't have to worry about going late because I can't see myself eating at 8 o'clock at night.
I know you need to eat dinner first and then go to the shows or the casino or back to the Tides Bar. I know it's not called the Tides Bar, but I'm sure it has a different name. Some of the cool videos I've seen about MSC ships are the parties in the lobby where there's a white party where everyone dressed up. It's very European in that essence. I was going to say, do you feel like this could be more of a party ship like Carnival, or do you think it could be more family oriented? Not quite so much Disney, but maybe more like a Royal Caribbean in that aspect.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's more family oriented. Actually, I've seen some of these Facebook groups, they're complaining that it's too family oriented. And I mean, I really don't see how it could be too family oriented other than like it being Disney or something like that, which that definitely is too family oriented, I think.
I mean, these people just need to go on a Virgin cruise where there's no kids, or go on a Ritz-Carlton cruise where they can't afford to bring kids. I think that this MSC cruise is going to be interesting, and in next week's episode, we are going to hear Jesse's full review of the MSC Seascape, and that'll do it for this week's episode of the Lido Loop. As always, I'm Jack. That's Jesse. You can follow us on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe. You can always find us on Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts, and we will see you on the Lido deck.
Or running down the pier.
Just don't be late.
Thank you for watching this episode of Lido Loop. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you're notified every time we post more content.